We're back with another edition of the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for spending time with us. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good afternoon. I think it is afternoon, Fred. Yes, it
And we're
is
going to explain your
afternoon.
setting in a few minutes. But first, joining us once again from Sweden is consultant, publisher of Mobility Industry Insights, and co-author of The Real Case for Driverless Mobility, Michael Senna. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Alan. Wonderful to be here with you again
And
from
Alain
a
is,
sunny evening in Sweden.
for now, while there's still sun, right?
It's still sunny.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Ooh, we aren't that close to winter yet. Ooh.
2 weeks.
And
Ooh.
Alain is in a departure lounge, I think, at an airport. So tell us what's up, Alain.
Yes, going to Peru on actually a humanitarian mission. Actually, we're going to be passing out wheelchairs in rural communities of Peru.
That's terrific. And of course,
Yep.
as we can say that has a mobility theme to it. But you want to tell us any
And
more about how this came about?
no, well, I mean, it's something that Henry Posner III has done with his Princeton class last, 5 major reunions or 4 major reunions, and Elizabeth and I are going along this time. It's something that he does with his class, and it's really good. So we take his railroad up the Andes and stop at the various towns that they serve and pass out wheelchairs. Something good.
Terrific. Wonderful. Well, Michael, the latest issue of Mobility Industry Insights is a great read, thought-provoking way to head into August here. And the title is Aligning Your Motive, Mission, and Method. And then you have a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And your focus here, I think, is a look at Waymo, Zoox, and Tesla and what their motives are in the mobility/robotaxi space, right?
Well, wait, Fred. I think that what he's really thinking about is what makes me happy or what might make me happy. And so I really appreciate the quote because it is, I guess it's the reason why at least the three of us do what we do. So anyway, go, Michael.
The quote has been there for quite a long time, and every
Yes.
now and then I go back to it and I think, am I walking the walk as well? Am I talking about things that mean something to me, and am I doing things that are useful to other people? And it's just one of my the boxes that I check off to see whether my life is moving in the direction that I think it should. Why does it matter whether Waymo is really thinking about being a taxi company inside of Alphabet, a company that has as its company's mission to organize the world's information at a click of a button? I mean, is there any connection between those two, or is it just Waymo has got this idea that it wants to be the most trusted driver? That's its mission. That's what it says it wants to be, the most trusted driver. It doesn't say it wants to be the most trusted ride delivery company. It doesn't say it wants to be the most trusted technology company for delivering rides managed and executed by a robot, and it builds the robot. It doesn't say any of those things. It says it wants to be the world's most trusted driver. Just a second here. Why does that matter? It matters because there are individuals, and we can name names here. I'm not going to pull any punches. Just like I said in the beginning of the issue, there's a politician in New Jersey who wants to make sure that if driverless cars are driving around, that they're going to do it in a way that he thinks is the best way to do it. And it just happens to be the case that nobody else can do it the way Waymo does it. So it would be a test of Waymo driving around for 3 years and everybody else kind of looking off at the sidelines. If Waymo does really want to deliver rides and it wants to be a taxi company, and individuals, politicians, business people, investors want to put money into that, they should be really sure that, in fact, that's what Waymo is going to do, and not at some point say, you know what we meant by the world's most trusted driver was we want to be the best automated driving system. And we're not going to deliver rides. That's other people are going to deliver rides. And they're going to deliver rides in cities, and they're going to deliver rides in suburban areas, and they're going to deliver rides in rural areas. But we're going to deliver the most trusted advanced driving system. I believe, I'm not sure that I've got a majority or a large minority or even a minion, but I believe that people who are in this business should be clear about what they're doing, because there's enough confusion, there's enough obfuscation. People are making decisions based on what they're seeing, and if they're seeing something and it's not what is actually behind what they're seeing, they're going to make decisions with the wrong types of information. So that's why I felt it was necessary right now, at this point in time, to put our cards on the table and say, let's have a look. What's underneath there? I'm calling. Are you going to do this, or are you going to do that? And then we can get on with all of the standardization and the regulations and everything else, knowing full well where everyone is going to be in a year or a couple of years' time.
And if they're saying that by the end of this year, they expect to be giving 1 million rides a week, which is, I think, what they've said, according to TechCrunch. Is that not, playing the devil's advocate here,
Yeah,
is that
sure.
not proof that they're a robotaxi company?
Yeah, but wait, I'd claim it's not proof. I'll jump in right now. It's not proof. 1 million rides, a what? What's the unit of time, Fred, that you use?
A week.
A week. Okay. Well, they're 1.1 billion a day. So, they're essentially almost 10 billion a week. And so that's 10 times 10 to the 10th. And they're going to do how many? 1 times 10 to the 6th. Is that you said 1 million? So, they're 4 orders of magnitude. They're 0.01%. Okay, great. Okay, but where does that leave everybody else? All right. I mean, this technology of a driver by a machine, at least me, some of us have been in it for quite a while, believe that it's different. It's something that nothing else has been able to provide. That it has opportunities that everybody struggled to do and have been unable to do. Otherwise, they would have done it, and done it at more than 0.01%, if I did my arithmetic right, have my exponents right. But you gotta do more than that. You have to be more than a niche. You have to serve more people than Hermes. And in fact, where the struggle is in mobility, it's not at the top end. The top end, at the Hermes end, got more choices than you shake a stick at.
Yeah.
But at the other end, where Many of us have been struggling, wanting, desiring to provide some societal value to all this that money that's been spent to create the robots. Unfortunately, the 0.01% doesn't cut it. And in fact, if you look at where the 0.01% is where those trips are, I don't know. I haven't done the research, but I'll throw it out there anyway. I bet it's more on this end than it is in the how about a ride to a homeless person in San Francisco who may need a ride. And of course, my view on all this and why I appreciate what Michael has written so much is because, and where we've been coming from on this thing is that, we think that the value of this mobility is for quality of life. And we are laser focused on making sure that if there's any legislation in New Jersey about this, it's going to be focused on quality of life.
Not on technology.
Not on technology, not on this gizmo, that gazmo, this we-ha, that do-do, ba-da-do. Because our experience in trying to do this is the folks that really need the mobility, they couldn't care less with the technology, whether there's LiDAR, SMIDAR, or WIDAR on it. They desperately would like to be able to get from A to B when they'd like to go for something that they can afford. That's where the real need for mobility is. And in fact, I don't know, my view, Michael's view, your view, Fred, we've been in this for a long time. And in fact, that's the value proposition. And I think we finally have the federal government, Washington, it's hard to believe, actually, is beginning to believe this. Just actually what's coming from the top is really that this administration does value the quality of life aspect of this thing. And it's looking to give, a bunch of folks a chance. The shocking thing that in New Jersey, we had to battle and we stopped it. And hopefully we'll get a chance to, when folks come back to the legislature, to get them to really focus on what's important here, which is mobility of opportunities to improve the quality of life of people who really need a ride. And let's do that at the 0.01% level first, not last.
What continues to baffle Alan and me and I think Fred as well, and the people who have been working with us on this, is why it isn't obvious that people who are riding around in Waymos and Ubers and even taxis to a large extent don't need government legislation, don't need handouts, don't need special regulations to help them to get to where they want to go. But a large number of people, and we've gone through these numbers over the last 4 years, at least putting the books together that we've been working on, but much more before that, to identify a large latent demand, latent because it's not being served, and many of the people who are in need of getting to places, if they do get there, they get there in ways that are least comfortable, more expensive, and not necessarily fulfilling their requirements. Whereas the people who can afford to take the Waymos and can afford to buy their own cars, can afford to operate their own cars, they don't need anybody's help. They get to where they need to go. They can take their family and their kids and everyone else that needs to get to places where they need to go without any help from anyone. Why isn't it obvious that if we're going to do something productive to help a large number of people, that we focus on this area? And I mean, maybe it's not obvious. I mean, a friend of mine wrote back to me today, good friend, who happens to be someone who is deeply involved in this business, probably more than even Alan and I are involved in this business. Yes, yeah, yeah. Um, I won't mention his name, but we can talk about this. It came in today. He's a faithful reader. We've been friends for almost 25 years. Um, and the reality of the people who are working inside these companies like Waymo, they need to make sure that they stay in business. Basically, that's the same is true with Zoox. They need to make sure that tomorrow they're still operating, and tomorrow they're operating, and tomorrow they're operating, and keep things going as long as they need to go, so that they can deliver something that actually works and that does meet all the requirements and does do everything that it's supposed to do. And then maybe they can think about, well, who's actually going to use this? Who's going to benefit from this? Is it going to be all those rich kids who who go to parties and need to get home, or is it going to be people who need to get to their work or need to get to the hospital and they can't get a ride? They're not thinking about this. And his frustration, which I could really feel, his frustration was that you need to be able to deliver a message to people who are going to give you money to allow you to stay in business. And those messages go to the management of Alphabet. They go to the management of funds. They go to the people who are running your company, like Amazon for Zoox. You've got to convince them that something is going to happen for their benefit, not necessarily for the benefit of the riders. And this is a major frustration, and I understand that, but it's not a matter of losing sight of what an eventual message should be. It's a matter of identifying it so that people can, for the first time, realize that there is another need. And that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. And I know that's why Calvin keeps doing what he's doing, and these podcasts that we're having, and keep delivering this message, because eventually, either one by one or two by two, we're going to get enough people who can say, yes, let's do this. Let's focus on this area. And if it means calling out Waymo and saying, own up, guys, or if it means, Zoox, you've got a good solution here, but it needs to be done for the right reason. Maybe all that money that your buddy Jeff Bezos is putting into stuff that he's investing in, maybe you can put a little bit more money into this group, because it's actually going to do some really, really good.
But Michael, both can be done. Both can be done. Okay, it's not one or the other, but it shouldn't just be the one.
Yeah,
they should
I agree.
At least let's say us. They should at least give us a little respect here. Okay, and maybe help us out a little bit, because the marginal cost to them of doing this is zero. Mark. You can do the MS. You can do the luxury. But the same thing also works here.
Yeah.
And all we need is a little bit of help. Why do we need the help? Is because I gave up trying to do it myself. Why? Because nobody was going to give me the billions to do it. Okay? So, Waymo, Zoox, Tesla, you got the billions to do it. But you actually can do both. So why don't you show a little respect over here to do actually, as a we provide you the good. You've got nobody wanting you. We actually have people wanting us. We don't have labor unions not wanting us because we're not taking away any jobs. We're actually creating jobs because this is latent demand. No Uber drivers losing a ride. No mass transit system is not getting the bus drivers. Where those things work well, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're out there looking at this, and it is unbelievable. This is brand new. When we talk to folks in this area, we've not had any pushback. We've not had any town council say, oh, we're going to do legislation to make sure they can't do this, or they can't charge, or they can't do this, or they can't do this, they can't do this, or they can't do this. People have actually been essentially kissing our feet, not literally. Why? Because it's amazing they haven't heard about this for some reason. It's not that. How many podcasts have we done, Fred?
It's
I
his,
guess nobody watches. Nobody watches. Nobody watches.
That's not true.
And well, I don't know, but I guess who watches doesn't, you know. And these folks are telling us, oh no, wait 3 years, wait another year, don't you can't talk to us now. We're so busy trying to serve the Hamas market, the luxury market. We can't talk to you. That's implied what they say. Oh, we don't have time for you. Oh, we can't even chit chat with you. Holy hell, you're some crazy who knows what. Holy heck. I mean, it was amazing in San Diego. Just amazing.
Tell
I
them
finally
what was it? Tell them what it is. What it was, Alan.
I mean, it was just there
No,
was
what
some
was it?
good there
Why were you?
that was
Why were you there? What
well,
was going on?
because it was the whatever a summer AV conference that used to be TRB, and I guess I've been to essentially every one of them, and I guess I got to go out there.
So this is TRB West. Is
Well,
that the?
it's not TRB anymore. Now it's SAE. Oh my goodness. It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same whatever. And it's just, and I finally said it, talking about trucking. I mean, we've sold it wrong. Well, no wonder it isn't anywhere, and it doesn't because we sold it wrong. We try to sell it. It's going to improve safety. It's not gonna. It's going to be safer, no doubt about it. My goodness, what a professional trucker has to do to feed his or her family, to sit there making sure the darn thing stays between two white lines and doesn't hit things 6 days a week. I mean, that is a brutal job. I've said how many times OSHA should be in here saying, my goodness, this workplace is unacceptable. Those folks need some help. Now, they're all so darn great. They're all such good professionals. They won't admit it. But my goodness, we now have Aurora, and we have these trucking companies, these companies that have made a system that can really help these folks. And in fact, what the government should do is look at their hours of service. All of a sudden, you don't have to limit somebody to 10 hours of service if they're supervising and not doing this 20 millisecond, got to keep the truck on. And how much supervising you have to do? Not much. Concierge service. That those goods behind that head end are so darn valuable. They deserve concierge service, and they deserve to move, and not just move 10 hours a day. They deserve to move 20 hours a day. You now put some technology in there that helps now this individual have a better life, be twice as productive, move 20 hours a day as opposed to 10 hours a day. Companies should pay him more or her more. Goods do get to market faster for the benefit of consumers. This is the value proposition. And drive safer. They're all excellent drivers. Okay. So I don't want to suggest, but the physical load on day after day after day to feed your family. I had to say that at the end of the session. They thought I was crazy. I guess I am.
Yeah. I don't focus, as you know, I don't focus on the trucking side. I really,
Well,
it's not because I don't believe that there's definitely a need. I know there's a need because I worked for Volvo when Volvo was one company, including trucks and cars. I know that business as well, but my focus has been on the personal mobility side, people getting to places that they need to get to, not goods getting to. I don't want to say it's exclusive because a lot of the benefits flow from one to the other. I mean, if we've got systems that can do what they do for cars, they should be able to help to do the things that need to be done for trucks, obviously. Um, but
yeah.
my focus has been, my focus has definitely been on the Waymos and Teslas, the Tesla car side, and the Zooxes, and not on the Auroras and the groups
Well,
doing
same
trucks.
for me. It's
Yeah,
same for me. My focus is much more on the personal mobility side. But as you know, I had ALK for 33 and a half years, and we've revolutionized the mobility business in trucking with
the
turn-by-turn
trucking. Yeah,
navigation
sure.
and so on. So I know that business too, and I know the struggles in that business. And so what we talk about is a value proposition for people, that's a value proposition for truckers. I mean, it's just, and so you don't have to take the trucker out of there. You don't have to have it driverless. And in fact, you may not even want it. Again, it's different because the business is different. It's not the individual that needs to get from A to B. It's
Goods.
the stuff in the back. And the
Yeah,
stuff in the
exactly.
back is so darn valuable. Otherwise, it'd be going by choo-choo or by slow boat through by China or whatever we want to say. The reason it's on a truck is because it's got to get there. Okay, and my goodness, those folks work to do that, and it is a struggle for them to do that. And well, at least it was my experience, at ALK and working with these companies and saw that firsthand. So, maybe I'm screwballed and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I,
No.
I haven't just been in the Princeton bubble all my life. Excuse me.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to read your latest work there, Michael, at michaellsenna.com. And you do touch upon what you feel motives might be for these companies. So I don't know if you want to touch on that briefly, or should we move on?
Well, I mean, the what's clear to me is that none of them are really identifying their motives. I think Zoox, of the three companies, Zoox is the most clear about what it intends to do. It's it doesn't indicate that it wants to be a taxi company. It's building a vehicle that could eventually be sold to ride providers. It's delivering rides now in order to make sure that the system works. It does what it needs to do. It's effectively doing the same thing that Waymo is doing. I mean, someone said to me when I was in Geneva at the conference there. artificial intelligence conference, 4 days. And someone said to me, we were having this similar kind of discussion about what's Waymo actually doing? And they said, well, isn't it obvious what Waymo is doing? They're driving all over the place, and they're introducing this in new cities, and they want to get more people to ride in their cars. And I said, do you know why Waymo is going to all of these cities? Yeah, because they want to expand their business. I said that there is no taxi company, and I'm not including Uber as a taxi company because it's not a taxi company. Uber is not a taxi company. The folks who work for Uber and Lyft and companies who have a platform for putting riders together with cars, they're in the taxi company business, not Uber. But taxi company businesses are not international, they're not national, they're mostly city-based. And they're city-based because the regulations are strict, and they're different from one jurisdiction to another. Waymo is, for one reason, Waymo is going to different places so that they can understand what those regulations mean for their system. The other thing they're doing, and this is a distinction between Waymo and Tesla, they're going to all these places because the way their system works requires that they do very detailed mapping, but I don't mean necessarily just topographical mapping. I mean mapping everything in three-dimensional space. Their system requires that they know where everything is and how everything is operating. Tesla does things differently. They don't have to go to a place, run their system around, make sure that it works in Scranton, Pennsylvania, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They develop a system that should work in any of these places. And if they identify places with all their cars that are running around where something doesn't work, that feeds back into their system, and then they update all the systems at the same time. This is a very different different method. So it doesn't mean that Waymo intends to be a taxi company just because it's opening services in 5 or 10 or 20 markets, including Tokyo and London. It means that, from what I see, it means that they're trying to make sure that when they sell their most trusted driver, which is their advanced driver assistance system, advanced driving system, automated driving system, to company X, to put those into their vehicles, that they work there. So that there's a major difference between what a company is doing. But why don't they just say that? Why don't they just say, look, guys and girls, we want to be the most trusted driver, which means for us, that's the ADS. We want everybody to believe that we're the most trusted ADS, and therefore every car company should buy our system and put it in theirs. And oh, by the way, once you put that in there, we're going to have all kinds of connections for you, and we're going to get to our real business, the business of our company, which is brokering ads, because that's where we make money, isn't it? That's what feeds our investors. That's what feeds the people who own us. We're not a taxi company. We're not an automobile company. We're not a tier one supplier. We're a ad brokering business. So you understand that? Everybody's clear. Let's move on.
More or less having the Google search.
Message.
More or less like having the Google search engine on all the computers in
yes,
the world.
and Android in all Android Auto in the your Google Maps and all of the stuff that fits into what their basic business is.
And you mentioned Zoox wanting to sell vehicles, and Alain, It's in the latest newsletter. Comments by Jonathan Morrison, administrator of NHTSA, allowing Zoox to operate its vehicles without steering wheels or pedals. Numbers are limited, I think, starting 2,500 vehicles a year for the next 2 years, maximum of 5,000. And that approval was just granted this past week by NHTSA.
Yes, that's all good, and I think that's an opportunity to, again, the thing is that 2,500 vehicles doesn't even scratch the surface, although it is just for the next 2 years, and hopefully in the next 2 years it'll become greater. 2,500 vehicles is really quite good, and geez, I'm hoping that I can talk with Jesse, and Jesse can find a way for which we can get some of those vehicles to do what we're trying to do in our space. And this isn't going to be an instantaneous market. This is something that's going to evolve. One could try to evolve it in many places at once, as opposed to one place do it really well. Breadth versus depth. One doesn't have an opportunity right now to do both breadth and depth. I mean, Waymo, what was it, a few years ago, they said they were going to get 80,000 Pacificas and 20,000 Jaguars. And I sort of drew a curve, and it was holy mackerel. This is really, yeah, you're really going to scale this, and it needs scale. There are 100 million person trips a day at least out there that are latent demand that could be given to improve people's lives. Okay? 100 million a day in the USA. Okay? And, none of those are in New York, because New York, in a sense, you can use the subway to get anywhere.
New York City.
Okay, New York City, Manhattan. Yes. So actually, as far as we're concerned, that's the last place. There is mobility there for everybody at, a couple bucks a ride, unless you can't walk at all. Okay. So in a sense, New York's great. Chicago, a little bit. Oh my goodness. Waymo's in LA. Can you imagine how many latent demand trips there are in LA? They could just focus in LA, and they don't have the production capability of putting cars out there to do that. Why they're in these other places? But of course, they've decided breadth versus depth. Okay. Who are we? We're struggling to get started, and we're gonna work on trying to just get started.
But Alan, that's why I said if you're looking at it from the perspective of the company Waymo, we have to, because this is the way our system works. We have to go to all of these places to get all of the nuances and all of the differences between these. It's not that they're going there to give rides. Now I'm inferring. Somebody from Waymo call me back and say, "Hey, wait a minute. We are going to be the world's biggest taxi company." I'm not going to hold my breath for that phone call.
Okay, yeah, if they wanted to be that, but if they're, I don't know. I guess who knows? Yes, the beauty of what you've written here, Michael, is that people should read it slowly, carefully, and think about it. Okay, because I think you have really made some points here, and we really wish that, I guess, these entities kind of at least are fair with us as to what they're trying to do. Okay. And if they are, then God bless you. Okay, go for it. Whatever, I guess. I don't know. It's a shame, though, that none of you I've heard say explicitly that you're out there trying to look at this latent demand for this mobility that would deliver such societal value to people who need it most. And it's a shame. My personal opinion, and I'm not submitting a TRB paper properly vetted so that whatever's, do. It's just my opinion. I guess that's what's good about these podcasts. I can go out there and put my opinion, and nobody needs to listen to it.
That's pretty much
Very
the
simple.
same with my mobility industry insights. Nobody pays.
And to read it again, it's michaellsenna.com to take a look. One more thing to touch on, guys. From the Detroit News, this headline: Forget ride share, how seniors are using Teslas for transportation. This is from the Detroit News. And among those quoted is a 78-year-old retired GM engineer who drives his Model Y and Model 3 on FSD 98% of the time. They actually give you a score these days. And we should mention Inside EVs is reporting Tesla now has nearly 1.5 million FSD subscribers.
Yes, I put those things in the e-letter because, as you know, besides latent demand for people and trucks, the thing that I've sort of tripped over even more, this year is simply because I find myself in that position. My goodness, I just don't drive as well as I used to. And darn it, this stuff drives better than I do. My personal opinion, okay? I have no data except for my personal opinion from experience and from the rides that I've given people who are, well, I'm only 39, so, slightly older than me, okay? Or at least I claim I'm 39. Okay, I guess I've had 43 39th birthdays, but that's to do. Detailed bottom footnote, who knows? Whatever. If somebody really was interested in safety here, they'd be all over this as Jordan News article.
Yeah.
Because if you look at who's unsafe out there is, of course, the misbehaviors. And what nobody wants to say, it's also the seniors who shouldn't be driving, who can't do this 20 millisecond thing of which way do I head the car and what kind of torque do I put on it to get the right velocity vector. Those two things, let alone turn signals or signaling to others what my intentions might be. That's what you do as a driver. And my goodness, and so what we've been trying to do, in addition to trying to provide, rides for people who really need it, is that maybe we might be able to get motor vehicles in New Jersey to create a tiered operator's license that would allow the privilege of using a vehicle to get from A to B when they want to get from A to B. The use of that vehicle, if they do just a supervisory function and just that, not the 20 millisecond stuff, part of the dynamic traffic task, because the machine can do that. In my opinion, the machine does that. It sees 360 simultaneously and does it 30 times a second. I cannot do that. I was never able to do that. I challenge even Poopman to do that. I don't think he can do that. It beats him.
Well, I found it
I'm
so
in
fascinating,
trouble.
Alan, that this was not a New York newspaper or a West Coast newspaper. This was the Detroit News reporting this. So,
Well, yeah, because
I think that was
I
very
guess
significant.
because the author is he's a good one. Okay.
Michael, we want to thank you again for your great work, your insights, and for joining us. michaellsenna.com is the place to go. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks very much. Great talking with you again.
Michael, great thing. I hope people read it and think about it anyway. Maybe we'll get a couple converts.
And you can find us, of course, at smartdrivingcar.com. Also on the Transportation Channel. Great things happening there, including another interview with Alain coming up on a new program next month. We'll have more on that as it approaches. My tech reports are at techstination.com. Thank you for watching or listening, and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.